all part of Diabetes Hope Foundation. I am the program director. My name is Alex Colley, and thank you again for joining us tonight. So Diabetes Hope Foundation was started in 1999 after Barbara Pasternak. Two of her three sons were diagnosed with type 1 at the age of 10 with no prehistory. She wanted to create a foundation that really provided hope to those who were struggling with the disease and really didn't have any other support groups. As her children grew up with diabetes, so did the foundation. We've really put the foundation into a transition type of support. So we support youth transitioning from high school to post-secondary to the workforce, as well as the transition from their pediatric to adult care services. So that's Diabetes Hope Foundation in a nutshell. And again, we want to thank all of our panelists here tonight who are part of our peer support program, which is one of our support programs. From there, I will pass it along to Anna, and Anna will introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Alex. My name is Anna. I'm going to be your host for tonight, so leading us through our discussion and the time that we spend together. I have been involved with Diabetes Hope Foundation for what seems like a very long time, having received my scholarship back in 2009, and I've been involved since then with all sorts of initiatives and programs that Diabetes Hope Foundation has been involved with and putting on. In my own life, my background's in teaching, and I'm working in university guidance and recruitment at the moment. Love what I'm doing, despite the crazy times we're in right now. I think we're all having to readjust, but I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. This is a chance for everyone here to connect with each other and also to learn from each other. We're all of us, the panelists and our mentors, the attendees, everyone who's joining us. I think we're all going through things a little bit differently. We have our own experiences, our own backgrounds, but we do share a lot in common. And one of those things, of course, being diabetes and type 1 diabetes. Tonight, we really want to connect on that side of things, how the current kind of climate and what's going on right now is affecting us and how we're approaching things in terms of, in a sense of diabetes, but also just as humans, as people maneuvering through life in the way that we are. So we're going to be covering a variety of topics, including some of our concerns, our anxieties around what's going on, how this is affecting our diabetes, and also how we're managing this. And then some of our strategies for handling a little bit of loneliness. I think that it's kind of a common thread right now, and isolation, and some silver linings. So what are some of the positive things that are coming from this? What are some things that we're learning about ourselves, our world, and about our interests and that type of thing? And through that, we're hoping to connect with you as well. So I welcome everyone who's joining us tonight to please comment and join in with our conversation in the chat. We're going to bring you into our conversation as much as possible. We really want to hear what you have to say. We want your thoughts. We want your opinions. There's absolutely no pressure to do so, but we really are looking forward to hearing from you as well. As we move forward, I want to first give everyone that's here joining us a chance to introduce themselves in a little bit more detail. Let's get started, and let's have Allison. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
For sure. So hi, everyone. My name's Allison. I am a student in radiation therapy at Toronto. So what that is it's training to be a radiation therapist or someone who treats cancer patients with radiation. And I have been involved in DHF since 2012 when I first got my scholarship. And I'm super excited for this conversation because I think typically we're told to socially distance ourselves, but it's really physical distancing. So this is a really great chance to connect with others and meet other people socially who are similar to us and going through the same things. So welcome, and I look forward to our conversations.
Thank you, Allison. Perfect. Kristen.
So hi, I'm Kristen. I'm originally from Richmond Hill, now living in Maple. I work with the York Region District School Board. I'm a CYW, so what that means is I'm a child and youth care worker working with kids with special needs, primarily students with autism. And on my downtime, I'm a writer. And what I hope to do with this chat is, like Anna, I got my scholarship in 2009. And since then, I've been helping out countless hours with DHF. I've been working with kids and youth since I was 13 years old. And, now, like everybody's been saying, in this time of uncertainty, we all need to come together and, help each other out, be a community, basically.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I think a common thread developing here and what we want to get out of this. Lindsay.
So my name's Lindsay, and I'm currently in St. Catharines attending Brock University for medical sciences. I received my scholarship back in 2016, and I have been volunteering with them ever since. And like the other mentors, I'm here to form great connections with other people with diabetes, and hopefully we can learn from each other in this changing period of time.
Thanks, Lindsay. And last but not least, Luca.
Hi, my name is Luca, and I'm from Ottawa. I'm in my 4th year of biomedical sciences, and I'm here for the same reason as everyone else, to keep the conversation going and see what we can learn from what others are doing at this time and how to adapt to that. Oh, and I'm similar to Lindsay. I'm also from the DHF cohort of 2016, so it's been a few years.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And I think this is going to be a fun chat. I think everyone has a bit of a different background, so that'll definitely come out in the conversation we have. If anyone at this point who's joining us has any questions, we would absolutely love to hear from you. To kind of get this conversation started, one of the threads that really brings us all together is the fact that we are going through this experience as diabetics. Not that this is at the forefront, but it is a really important piece or part of this puzzle. And I think as diabetics, we know every day we have certain things that we have to handle, that we have to go through, and we do live with a relatively consistent amount of uncertainty in how each day is going to unfold and exactly what we're going to have to come up against. So without being biased, I think we actually have a little bit of an edge there in handling this scenario that's kind of placed in front of us right now, what's going on with the world. But inevitably, it is affecting us. So to start, I want to ask the mentors how your day-to-day routines in terms of diabetes care specifically have changed over the last while with the current COVID-19 pandemic going on. So Luca, actually, do you mind starting us off on that one?
Absolutely, absolutely. So first of all, I find that with more sedentary time, I think one of the first things that I had to do was increase my basal rate of insulin. So using, for example, I'm on multiple daily injections. I just had to give more Tresiba to compensate for kind of sitting more around. And what's nice though is that there's less chaos, commuting everywhere. So I find that I'm able to control things more easily now, that I don't have to be running around, and I have the time to cook and measure food and things like that. So in a way, it's kind of a good thing. Well, in that respect, yeah.
Yeah, adapting as you need to. Yeah, what about Lindsay? What are your thoughts?
I think kind of similar to Luca, I've definitely had more time to focus on my blood sugar numbers. And so I'm on the pump and I've had to adjust some of my basal ratios. But definitely something I used to struggle with was dosing before eating. I'm able to cook on my own time now, and so I can bolus as soon as I start cooking and then move on from there, which I think is kind of helpful. Start good habits.
Kristen, what about you?
So working in the school board, obviously you guys know, listening to the news, it's been a little bit interesting. This year's sort of been interesting with the fact that all the contract negotiations and the work rules and the strikes. And I had a set schedule when I was working, because working with kids with special needs, you're always on the go. Anything can change. But, I tried to keep a set schedule as much as I could. In terms of diabetes now, obviously because I'm not working, it's more laid back. I sort of try to keep to the same routine as possible, because as teachers, and you can agree with me, working in the education system, we basically have the same schedule for 10 months out of the year. So it's hard to sort of change out of that system that you're already physically in. So that's a good thing, is still having that system while I'm obviously at home. And also being able to have somebody around, like my boyfriend here living with me. It's nice because, you have somebody you can rely on who knows your ins and outs, who knows what to look for when you're having situations like a low or a high. And then if you're not able to deal with it yourself, having somebody else who knows the ins and outs to say, okay, hey, we need to probably do this for you, or we need to do that for you. But still also myself trying to manage it as best I can.
We've just had someone comment that with kind of the being at home and that type of thing, and that there's more time to take care of ourselves and to really focus on some of these things that we don't always have time to do, which is definitely a silver lining.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if this is true for anyone else, but like when I am stressed out in a crazy stressful time like this, I tend to eat or snack. And so I remember there was like one of the first or like one of the early prime minister addresses I was watching, and there was this like little bowl of mini eggs and chocolates that I had out. And without realizing it, I had just like gone through almost half of them without realizing it while I was watching this address, because it's just so stressful. So I think a change that I had to realize pretty quick was to limit anything that is like a bad snack or a bad habit of snacking with a good choice. So like vegetables and cheese and like lower carb options, and to just be really mindful like of how much I'm bolusing before I eat things as I'm stressed out.
Those mini eggs around Easter, absolutely killer. I feel you on that one for sure. Yeah, and I think a few people are agreeing here as well. This is a common thing I think a lot of us are having to deal with.
Guilty. I've already broken into most of the school snacks anyways in the cupboard. Rice Krispie Squares, I had one today. I literally had to like break the habit and just be like, okay, I gotta do it. I have to do it.
Yeah.
And there's definitely some changes that I think everyone's making, and again, some things that we're realizing as well through the media, also through other people, and I guess within ourselves as well. I think that we've been hearing of quite a few concerns and some anxieties related to many things, but especially for us as we are dealing with our diabetes and hearing all sorts of things, I think, from the external world as well about what's going on, and it can create some concern over our health. I'm wondering if you can speak to a few of these anxieties that you might be feeling. For example, access to diabetes supplies, how you've been finding that, or any other kind of, thoughts that have been passing through your mind, and also how you're handling those concerns and those anxieties that exist around diabetes. Lindsay, do you have any feedback or insight on that?
It was a concern of mine, especially hearing about some diabetics who have hoarded like insulin. However, if you talk to your pharmacist, if you buy through a pharmacy, most of them are really good about keeping like reserve stock for all of their diabetic patients. And a lot of insurance companies won't let you refill before a certain time either. So as long as you stick to your schedule, I've personally been okay with it. And I feel like it should be like that throughout the course of this pandemic.
Allison, what about you?
Yeah, I haven't noticed like that much difference. I did have like one minor issue because I had sort of like packed up in a hurry for like a week of a time, because I normally go home for the weekends. So I picked up supplies for like a week's worth of supplies, which is already more than I was expecting to need from my home base in Toronto where I'm studying. And then after that weekend, basically everything had gone online with my school and everything had changed. And so I kind of was just like, I don't know if I have to make time now to go back to Toronto, grab my supplies so that I don't have to get them like refilled at home. And I ended up doing that, and like my sister who lives in Toronto helped me out. But basically I did have to pay a little bit extra because I left like one box of test strips in my frenzied trying to pack up in Toronto. So I had to pay for an extra one that kind of was filled ahead of time from my pharmacy. But now that I'm like at home in St. Thomas, London area with my parents, everything's pretty much the same. Yeah.
And we've had a few people comment here just on having to think ahead and making sure just at this time that you are stocked up a little bit ahead of time. Luca, what about you?
Okay, so in terms of stress, I mean, I felt life was already really stressful before everything locked down, having to commute to 3 places in the city, 1 for classes, 1 for work, 1 for sports. It was just a lot. So having more time for everything, I think, took away stress, and that in part helped me to better regulate at this time. In terms of supplies, I find I stocked up before everything went on lockdown, anticipating something like that to happen. And so far, I haven't fallen short on anything, but in the next few weeks, I will have to go and get some more insulin. There was 1 week where I don't think the insulin was working properly. I don't know, it felt like my blood sugars were just consistently higher after bolusing. So if something doesn't work, then you have to go and change it. And that can take off like a week or 2 before you have to go and get new supplies again. Overall, it's pretty good, I would say. Overall, I feel pretty good.
going with the flow and adapting as you.
Yeah.
Kristen, you want to take the answer now?
Yeah, absolutely. Living with a unique form of diabetes, being one that can't read their symptoms and everything, obviously stress is a huge, huge thing. In terms of somebody who has an anxiety disorder already to begin with, I would say I've done fairly well. I mean, this time last year, a lot like Luca, I was going through a whole bunch of other things. And what I found is that, going through a prior experience and able to be so resilient to get through that, it just makes me think now that this is another challenge that we're dealing with, and it's just testing our resiliency to see how the rest of us are able to manage and how we get through this. And positive advice I can give is just keep telling yourselves every day, things are going to be okay, things are going to get better. Eventually, things will work themselves out. We're dealing with a lot of uncertainty now, and then also finding things to get your anxiety out, whether it be creatively, walking, exercise, all that stuff, just to get yourself to do something to eliminate yourself from all that is huge. And then in terms of supplies, I haven't incurred a problem yet. I mean, I, like Luca, and Allison had stuff already before everything went into lockdown. And I did go get stuff recently. A little bit longer than it would normally take, but other than that, it was pretty straightforward. However, I will say this, is that I do a lot of Facebook groups, and I've been seeing that insulin shortages, not an issue, guaranteed. Assisted device program for those of us that are on insulin pumps, we're still gonna get our money. So if you're concerned, like Lindsay said, call your pharmacy, continue to check with these companies to say, hey, am I still getting my supplies? Am I still getting my grant money to deal with these things?
I know nurses, they always have surplus supplies. So if you really have to, you can also give your nurse a call and probably go pick something up. Although it is risky because you probably have to go to the hospital. I know in Ottawa, endocrinology is separate from the hospitals that have emergency departments, so the risk might be lower, but still, if you absolutely have to, nurses will typically, or at least your nurse will be able to help you out 100%.
And for those of any of you that are in adult care, for instance, like you can easily shoot people an email at your clinic. I have a pump nurse who's also diabetic, and sometimes I can always email her and say, hey, I'm having this issue with my bolus, or I'm having this issue with my basal, and it can get done right away as opposed to, having to go to the hospital. So even using those resources, if you have them, by all means, use them.
Yeah, I think it's really nice to hear that there is support out there. We should not be left high and dry, and we do have those resources to reach out to, as you all have been doing, which is fantastic. Now, on that topic, we're managing our diabetes, but we're also doing this in a slightly different environment. For most of us, we are either alone or maybe with one or two other people, our families. We don't have those social outlets that we're used to, and that's huge, and that's part of why we're connecting here tonight. Lots of stuff going on online virtually. Can you all speak a little bit to some of the things that you're doing to handle this physical distancing, as we like to call it, or feelings of loneliness and isolation? What are you doing to remedy this, or to kind of help yourself feel a little bit more connected? Allison, actually, do you want to give some insight on that?
For sure, yeah. So I try and have like regular Zoom calls like this with my family members. And I also enjoy still doing the things that I was doing before. Like I was peer tutoring the younger class in my program. And so there are a couple of people that I'll have meetings with, and so I'll go over concepts and stuff like we normally would, but then we'll just chat about like how crazy this time is and what they're doing. And so I love the ability to use technology to connect with people like this exact thing. Actually, we had an online game of cards with some of my family members in Ottawa that we now realize, like, why haven't we been playing random things online with them before this? It's sort of like opened up new pathways of online ways to connect with people that I think I wasn't as aware of before all of this pandemic happened.
Lindsay, what about you?
So something that I like to do to pass the time on normal days is definitely like exercising and working out. So I've tried to stick to a bit of a schedule Of course, it's different because you can't go to the gym anymore. But I know a lot of people who have been doing like live streams or like Zoom calls, but you do like the workout in a group on a Zoom call. So it's like at home, but you're like not alone doing it, which I think can be a lot of fun. My student union at my university is also doing kind of like Frosh Week events, but they're like online for us. So Monday night we did bingo. They're doing like Tuesday trivia nights, and they're doing like group Netflix calls, which I think is a really nice way to like engage some sort of like socializing.
Luca, what about you?
Right on. Okay, so I don't know if who's heard of Discord before, but I have a family friend and he created like this Discord group that we talk to and that you can check in with your voice. It's kind of like Zoom, but I think it was more tailored for people who play video games together. But either way, it works, and it's a really easy way to stay in touch and have lunch and talk to someone at the same time, share music and things like that. But also, just judging on the demographic of everyone here, I think I might be the only one who plays Call of Duty. But for me, we can extrapolate from that and say there are so many games that you can play with people online, such as, well, what was that one? It's with all the, it's like, it's not trivia. Either way.
Jackbox? Is it
Jackbox? Yeah, Jackbox.
Yeah.
Super
My brother
fun.
was looking into that for our family too. They're really fun. There's like trivia, and there's a bunch of things where you can like draw on your phone. It's fun.
Now, so again, even like something like that, I mean, that's what video games were kind of made to do. It's like bring people together these when there's like no other way to go and see people. So that's one thing that's actually kind of been working for me. But anyhow, just putting that out there.
Yeah, fantastic. All of our Call of Duty or Jackbox players out there, give us a shout. Who else is involved? Playing some games online. Kristen, what about you?
So I will say this, is that I recently, I don't know if you guys watched last week with Kai, but I also had a birthday recently, big milestone, my 30th. You know, not able to have the big party in a sense with everybody, but it will happen because, as you know, you're the same age for an entire year. So it will eventually happen. I was lucky enough to have, you know, my little family one, which is always a nice one to have. You know, I'm always on social media, just like trying to keep in touch with work, school, everybody here, all the other DHF family, you know, just trying to check in to see what's going on. Again, having people around like my boyfriend is good. I also recently got a kitten. But yeah, and then just, you know, sticking to what, like people said, sticking to whatever hobbies that we have, just passing the time away, still trying to, you know, do the online learning with school, make sure the kids get their education as they should be, and also doing some online learning as well for myself, mindfulness training, science of happiness, CBT training, brain training, all that stuff to sort of expand once school gets back into full swing again. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point. This is like a perfect occasion to learn something new if you have extra time on your hands.
I know one is through my union with work, but all sorts of them are giving like free time for you to do things, learn a language, learn a musical instrument, you know, computer skills, all sorts of different things that you can do from the comfort of your home. So
I think everyone's doing our best to figure out how we can stay connected and what we can do. On that topic, I think I've heard that a lot of people are actually discovering new things. So discovering something that they are really enjoying. So for example, a hobby, maybe it's a video game, maybe it's a band or some music that you didn't know of before or that you weren't interested in before. So just to kind of carry this on a little bit further, is there anything else specific in terms of things that you have discovered or things that you're enjoying doing right now that you weren't aware of before? Allison, yeah, what about you?
Sure. So I'm seeing if I can actually like share what I've been working on with you. Let me see if this works. Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
oh yeah.
So I've been working, this is not really a new skill, but it's definitely given me more time to work on. But like I'm making a quilt with a bunch of old volunteer t-shirts. So this one, I was on the team for the DHF Youth Day. I don't remember which year it was, but anyway, our team was the polar bears. So this shirt is from that. And this is my like design that I made. And I actually had sewn one of these patches. So I made that today.
Wow.
So I have another DHF shirt that I wanted to make. So this was from Youth Day in 2012.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I really love sewing and quilting, and I'm really getting into that. There's new ways to do that and learn different patterns all the time. So I'm trying to like build up my sewing skills generally. It's been really fun.
Super
What
cool.
an awesome thing to take advantage of, especially when we have the time right now.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the difference was between a quilt and a kilt until yesterday. So I was really confused about this hobby that some people have been taking, but that's really cool.
Lindsay, what about you?
So kind of like along the lines of the other guys, like I've definitely been using YouTube to try out new skills. I've always wanted to learn how to whistle with my fingers. I really can't, but it's like something unique and you can spend a lot of time doing it. I'm not much of an artist, but I find like coloring pages are definitely like a huge stress relief in this time.
And I think a lot of these creative things, again, if you are feeling stressed or overwhelmed, it could be so nice to have something, a book or coloring or quilting to turn to for sure. Yeah, Kristen, what about you?
Spending a lot of time with my cat, because obviously, I don't know if anybody knows this, but pets can sense emotions, and pets know when you're stressed, when you're sad, when you're happy, and they sort of attune to that and try to offset that onto you. But besides that, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a writer. I write poetry, so raw talent, self-taught, haven't taken a creative writing class before, but somehow, I can put one together like this, and people were like, whoa, how do you do that? I've had one published, working on some more as we speak. Other things I do, creative writing, journaling, coloring, like Lindsay said, is huge. Cooking, working on a lot of cooking recipes that I get from, magazines, from my mom and aunt on Food Network, all that stuff, just trying some new things out. And yeah, following YouTubers in terms of like cooking and stuff like that, and meditation. Obviously, I didn't have a lot of time doing that when I was working, but now it's huge getting into something. I'll put it in the comments down there, but Headspace, if anybody's heard of Headspace, highly recommend it. You can set it for, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever your level is. And they also have ones for stress, for depression, for sadness, anything really you're going through, even sleeping. I've tried it sometimes when I'm sleeping. So I'll put it down there for you guys to find.
All amazing ideas and some really, really great things on. I wanted to kind of bring us back to something we were speaking about before. So we have actually a few comments, one specific one having to do with having to switch up some of our, going back to our diabetes and that type of thing, our management techniques. Someone has been having some troubles with access and communication with Dexcom as an example, and has had to switch away from using Dexcom. Now, that's a specific example, but I'm not sure if anyone here has had a similar experience, whether that's going from a pump to injections or making some sort of switch that's been a little bit difficult, given that it's something that you've been quite used to, especially right now during this time. I know there's been some frustrations with veering away from your regular routine, but can you speak a little bit to making those transitions, so changes within your diabetes care, and how you deal with the stress of that, anxiety of that, if that's something that you have come up against? Lindsay, can you speak to that at all?
Maybe a little bit. I was supposed to be switching from a Medtronic pump to, I think, the T-Slim because it communicates with Dexcom. And the communication with their team has been kind of spotty, which is definitely because people are working from home, so I'm not blaming them by any means. But I think now is definitely like a good time that if your management isn't as great as it could be, you can definitely make like small adjustments on the new routine to set yourself up to have like a better transition into if you're moving on to a pump or another like CGM.
Okay, what about you?
The last time I went through a switch was in July. I went from pump therapy back to MDI, and right now I don't have any stresses because I'm not going through any changes, but at the time I felt just, if you want to communicate with Libre, for example, because that's the sensor I use, they seem to be pretty responsive to emails and phone calls, considering that Libre tends to fall off a lot more easily than the sensor I had before. But overall, I think transitions, if you are experiencing stress, just make sure to talk to people about it. Talk to your family, because your family's always going to be there to help you out when you need something, to get something sorted out. That's what I have.
And just to add in there, before we all jump to you, Allison, next, I think it's really important for ourselves as we're going through some of these changes, especially right now, to be really kind to ourselves. And we have a comment there, it's with sugars kind of getting out of whack because of these changes. And these things do happen, and it's stressful and it's frustrating and it's very anxiety inducing. And I think now more than ever, it's so important that we stay kind to ourselves and really, really focus on those positive parts of our management and even our day-to-day, the little things, that we can control, because some things we can't. Diabetes Hope Foundation has the peer mentor program as well, which is really cool. So if anyone who's joining us or anyone here is kind of having a tough time with making a change, or just dealing with kind of some blood sugars or experiences that are outside of the norm, and you do want to chat with us or with someone else just about these, our peer mentor program is fantastic. We'll again match you up with someone, a certified mentor on our end, and it's a really, really nice chance to connect and hopefully ease some of that anxiety that you are feeling. Kristen, anything to add to kind of finish this one off?
I live with a unique form of diabetes, so I can't fully comment on it, but I am going to put my child and youth worker hat on here and just say, go with what you already know. You do have the med books that you get when you go on these pumps and transition, and they do have a lot of information there. Again, these companies also have 24/7 support that you can call to and say, hey, I need this. If you are able to reach out to anybody in your clinic that can do these things, like I can, do that, and they can easily, shoot you an email and say, hey, change this, try this, do that. And, if you're really set on changing to this new system, again, do your research, talk to your family, try to reach out to your doctor and see, if it's the right move to do before actually committing to it.
Yeah. And reach out to us, right?
that too.
The really cool things that all of us here have noticed, and I think a lot of people have noticed, is that there are some really, really nice things happening in the world as well. Some really positive things that are coming out of a really kind of, negative situation. Our world's in a place that is completely unknown and uncertain, but there definitely are things happening that are really, really positive. And I just want here for us to kind of share a little bit about things that we're seeing in our environment, whether that's related to the healthcare community and support you're getting from your diabetes team, the wider world, that type of thing. I know the other night I stepped outside and everyone on my street had pots and pans out, and they were cheering for the healthcare workers that are helping us and that are helping everyone every day. But that was a really, really special moment, I think, for me to realize. And what have you guys noticed in terms of kind of the silver linings of what's going on and things that kind of make our anxiety and our stresses go down? Lindsay, what about you?
So I've noticed a lot of online groups that have been helping people who are immunocompromised, potentially fears with the grocery store, people who are in need. And I've noticed a lot of people are donating, and not just to the COVID-19 relief, but to food banks, because they're realizing now that with the unemployment rates, if you've lost your job, because I know mine was affected, there's definitely a lot of support systems out there now to kind of help keep you on your feet, stay positive.
Allison, what about you?
I'm finding on my walks that I'll do, and I'm walking across the street, if I'm going to run into someone or get within that 6 feet, everyone just seems generally kinder to each other. There'll be more smiles and nods and waves, and people will try and say hello more than I think before this whole thing started. I feel like people are starting to realize the value of connection, because we're in a place now that is lost a form of it. So whether that's finding new ways, different games to play online with people, or just being kinder to people that you're interacting with, I feel like that's kind of one positive thing that I've seen happen.
Kristen, what about you?
So obviously we know I'm a huge athlete, sports fan, And, with the shutdown, we've lost a lot of sports, but, I keep in touch with reading. I've got a lot of sports books here. But you see some of the things they do online, like, for example, Haley Wickenheiser, for instance, like, she's on the front lines, and she's also been like a huge advocate for the health system and the sports world as well. Another thing I'm going to throw out there, music-wise, artists like Canadian country singer Brett Kissel, John Legend, Charlie Puth, Niall Horan from One Direction. I could go on. These guys have been involved in things like being on Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy Fallon actually, like, before these guys perform, putting out an organization that could use support like Meals on Wheels, or, providing things for kids and youth. They also do concerts via social media. I know a lot of them are involved with a group called Global Citizen, which you can find on YouTube, and you can watch some of the concerts back. And they're all reminding us, social distancing, wash your hands, telling how they feel with the whole situation, with the entertainment world being closed off as it is, and, trying to provide us that entertainment to keep us happy, to keep us amused. And a lot of these guys I also have in Spotify playlists. I'll try to put them down there as well for you guys, or if not, try to reach out to me at some point and I can steer you in those right directions, because, music, anything, movies, things like that, they have a way of healing you. They have a way of making you laugh, making you smile, getting you in an energy where you're not worrying about all this stuff going on around us.
I think you're so right, and there's definitely power, so much power in all these things. Luca, again, just to kind of finish off here, anything really positive, silver lining of what's going on right now?
Well, everything that's been said is so true, but no one said the obvious, which I find is, if you don't live alone, you have a lot more family time now. And for people who have been living alone, maybe where they're studying or working, they've come back to their family. I mean, now you have the time to spend with them that you may not have had before in our hectic lives. So that's one thing I'm really happy. And say if you don't get along with a sibling or something, now's your chance to work on that, because you don't really have a choice, right? So I'm happy about that, at least.
Hopefully a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have this type of time if you are living with other people, for sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for all of you for sharing all of these stories and thoughts and strategies and that type of thing. I just want to take a few minutes before we end things tonight to open this up. So again, we've been asking for feedback and for questions throughout, but if anyone has right now anything that we haven't touched on, a question, a concern, please let us know. We'd love to see what we can do to answer those. If you think of something later on, by all means, you can visit us back again. This session is going to be on our website, it's on Facebook, and again, the Peer Mentor program as well. So any questions, even our mentors here, if there's anything that you'd like to kind of add in as a final note or message to our viewers tonight, and now is the time. So I might just open up the floor here. Is there anything that anyone would like to add?
I know nobody's mentioned it, but I probably have to throw the shout out to them. Beyond Type 1, who's helping us with this whole global platform thing. And, they're huge. And especially like, I watch The Boys on TV, and every night I watch it, I see Nick Jonas, and I'm like, that's a guy who works with Beyond Type 1, who is a huge advocate for people like us. Max Domi too. If you guys have not read his book, No Days Off, he talks about following your dreams, getting to the NHL, being a diabetic, listing his life as a diabetic. I mean, we have so many people in the diabetes world that we can look up to and just say, hey, they're doing what they're doing. We just need to, try to follow suit as best we can.
Definitely, like, with all the time that we have, if you're at home, just do things that make you happy. Like, keep a schedule, find new hobbies, like, just keep on top of everything that you like to do.
Yeah, and keep communicating. I mean, we have the capacity to talk to people and to still stay in touch with people. So use the systems that are in place. And yeah, as Lindsay said, this is a perfect time to look for new hobbies. Find like a really hard puzzle and see how long it takes you to do. I don't know. But yeah, there are lots of things you can still do now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So actually, I have a question, and I think that it was talked about in previous discussions around our webinars. But what are you all doing if you're living with family or living with a significant other? What are you doing boundary-wise to make sure that you and your significant others are staying safe in the community, going out to grocery stores, doing the shopping? I want to know what you guys are doing, and I think our viewers will be interested to know as well.
So having being where I am now, I actually live in a primarily senior citizen condominium. So we do have a lot of, warnings on our building saying, you can't come in, you have to stay out. This is a very high needs group. So, actually being here, I feel safe because, our management here is very good in making sure who's coming in, who's coming out, that sort of thing. I do not leave this building other than, going outside. I live right near a marsh. The thing about York Region is that a lot of forested area or routes, trails, whatever, are connected within the cities so that you can literally walk from one city to another or one side of the city to another. I don't go out and grocery shop. I used to love going out and grocery shopping. So, the best I do is, I look at my ads every week on my iPad and send them to my boyfriend's phone, and he'll go out and get them. And he goes to the places that we used to frequent or places that my parents have recommended, because my parents also have autoimmune deficiencies as well. So going to those places where I know he's going and they're safe and bringing that stuff back is huge.
So Lindsay, what are you doing to kind of keep those boundaries?
So everyone in my family is technically an essential worker. So I definitely have my alone time in the house. But we've kind of designated that my mom is the one who will be going to the grocery store. And she's the only one, and we only use one grocery store. So everything is very limited in terms of I guess exposure. But definitely just if you need time alone, you can voice that. Just tell them that you need some time to work on your painting or watch some Netflix on your own. It's, it works. You just have to, definitely communication is a big part of it.
Agreed. When it's really hard right now to communicate face to face, but with those that we are still communicating, you're right, it's very important. Now, Allison, what about you? Are you doing anything different with interactions wise?
A little bit, yeah. So I'm at home with my parents, and my boyfriend and his family live basically down the street. So I've tried to stay just in one place, and my mom is our designated shopper. But on my walks, I'll try and go on walks and then have a driveway chat where I'm standing at the edge of the driveway, and just seeing him in person is better, I think, than online all the time. But we do FaceTime a lot, and like Lindsay was saying, communication is huge, and just being very clear about here are my boundaries, here what I feel safe or not safe doing, and here's the amount of risk that I want to take or bring back into my family. It's all about trying to figure out how much you're risking exposure and trying to minimize that for not only yourself, but everyone you might be interacting with.
Anyway, we are actually running out of time. We are getting closer to the end. So Anna, do you want to take it away from here?
Again, amazing insight. And I think on that great question, Alex, that last one, this is so important. And I think all of us right now have a very important role to play. It is obviously our frontline workers, but each of us do have our own responsibility as well. And we really are changing the outcome of what's going on. So it's really nice to hear what you are all doing and your families and that type of thing. And that's so important.
Yeah. Luke is back.
Sorry, I don't know what my parents are doing with the Wi-Fi, but I had to fix that, so that's okay now. But
okay, go ahead.
So I recently kicked things off with someone, and it's, as many of you know, that early part you might have a lot of strong feelings, but I still live with my family, and my significant other has one roommate. So there are a lot of potential ways that things can spread. So if I have to go, I know at the earlier start when maybe not everyone was taking this as seriously, we had to talk about basically like what's the risk if I go to see her. Am I willing to risk potentially bringing this home to my family? Is that something that's worth it? And that's like emotionally really hard to think of, and that definitely added some stress to things. And it's a bit of a bummer that can't happen as much, or it can't happen at all, especially now because I've heard that they might be closing down highways, so she has to go home, and I might not see her for months now because of everything, which is a real bummer. But I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing the same thing. So, I mean, hopefully I can talk to someone who's experiencing the same thing.
And that's one of the reasons why we have our peer support program as well, like with our T1D buddies, who are you guys, as well as our Hope Connects mentorship program. So if you ever have any questions or just want to talk to somebody, the likelihood is that our mentors and T1D buddies have been through what you're going through. So Luca, you're probably not alone out there. I know some of my friends can't see their significant other either. So it's definitely not just you. So thank you for bringing that up, and that probably brought a little bit of light to everybody who is watching. And again, just to reiterate my point, if you go to our Diabetes Hope Foundation website, you will find the links to join our peer support program and our mentorship program. And you just fill out an online application, and I have you matched with one of our wonderful mentors here from last week, or if you join us next week, you'll meet some more as well. But they're all here for you. You guys can agree to this because I know you've all been matched, I believe. So you all give great support to all of the mentees. So from us at Diabetes Hope Foundation, we want to thank you for that. And again, just thank you all for joining us tonight to talk about the stresses around diabetes and COVID-19, as well as just what's going on in this crazy, crazy world. So again, thank you for sharing your insight and your experiences. Anna?
We're going to sign off, but thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. You all are amazing, everyone here with us tonight. It's so fabulous to have a chance to chat with you. Everyone who tuned in to join us, thank you for your time, for your connection, for providing a learning scenario for us as well. We are so grateful to have this platform to connect on. So we're here again next week, Wednesday, same time. We would love to have you back. We would love to have anyone who would like to join again for our chat. So have a fantastic night, a good rest of your week, and we will hope to talk to you soon. Good night,
Thank you for making this happen.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.